Hi, I'm Richard Hodges, founder and program manager of ReTreeUS. In this educational video series, we're going to be overviewing the Back to School Garden program. It's a program we're really excited about because we feel like it solves some major issues confronting school gardens, especially summer maintenance, and it maximizes production and educational opportunities. I will walk you through how to apply to our Back to School Garden program and the process of planting your school garden from picking up supplies to harvesting the plants. This program was specifically designed to accommodate school gardens, knowing that summer maintenance is a huge problem and providing opportunities for schools to participate in really thriving gardens that have a lot of learning extensions. The process starts by going to our website, ReTreeUS, then going to the Plant tab and selecting Apply for a Back to School Garden. The application is pretty simple. The most narrative part is describing the existing school garden and how it would benefit from participating in a Back to School Garden program. There's also more information about the Back to School Garden program as a whole on our website under the Cultivate tab. This year we have 4 regional hubs in Maine: the Ecology School in Saco, Wolf's Neck Center for Agriculture and the Environment in Freeport, Unity College Farm in Thorndike, and Chirp Creek Farm in Lisbon. We coordinate with the hubs and schools to arrange pickup times for the supplies. It will vary slightly from hub to hub how the pickup is conducted. In many cases, the teacher or garden coordinator will drive to the regional hub and the supplies will be laid out for them. These regional hubs are great partners and are willing to grow seedlings that are timed just right for when schools pick up in the spring. When picking up from a regional hub in the spring, you'll be picking up a roll of recycled paper, 10 bags of compost, seedlings, and seeds. You can then bring these supplies back to your school garden and begin the planting process. We love working with the Coast of Maine Quaddy Blend because it's a nice finished compost that you can sow seeds directly into. It's completely cured, so it's not going to burn your seeds, and it's going to break down the paper underneath it, building the soil and eliminating weeds. One model for the spring planted garden is the Three Sisters Garden. This practice has been utilized for centuries by Native Americans, and it creates a symbiotic growing space. The corn provides the structure for the beans to climb, while the beans fix nitrogen in the soil, and the squash acts as a living mulch, shading the soil and suppressing weeds. We share many learning resources with schools and encourage classrooms that utilize this approach to spend considerable time researching regional tribes and the rich historical context of this method. This year's seeds are Vermont cranberry dry bean, carnival winter squash, and the corn seedlings came from glass gem popping corn. Schools are also growing Mexican sunflowers. The reason why we chose this method is the plants require minimal maintenance. They can be planted in May or June before school ends, and they have a long harvest window. Now that we have an overview of the resources, let's get planting. First, you need to assess what's happening in the garden bed. I'm breaking up any clumps of soil or compost that might be there and just trying to have a nice level surface for laying down the paper and the next layer of compost. The bed that I'm utilizing in this video is pretty weed-free, so I'm only going to need 1 layer of paper. If your garden bed is more weedy, you may want to start by pulling up some weeds or using a stir-up hoe to rough up the weeds. Then you'll want to add 2 layers of paper. You want to make sure you have rocks or something else to hold the paper down if it's at all windy. Here I'm dumping the bags of compost over the paper and smoothing it out evenly over the surface. Once you dump out the compost and smooth it out, you want to remove the rocks so you don't end up with rocks in your garden bed. For a bed of this size, I'm making the mounds of squash in the corners. moving excess compost to the corners without letting it get too thin in any part of the bed. The mound is helpful for squash because it gives roots more space to grow and better drainage. The slight slope gives them angles to grow away from each other. There's really valuable information on the seed packets about proper spacing. Spacing is important because you want plants to get enough light. You don't want growing plants to be too congested. Plants need enough space to grow and thrive without too much competition. After making the hole about 1 inch deep, I put the seed in the hole and pat soil down around the seed. I am planting 3 seeds in the mound with the thought that I will end up with 2 to 3 plants per mound, which is what the seed packet says. The seed packet also says the seeds had a 95% germination rate in the test. So I am putting a lot of faith in these seeds and their ability to grow. After planting the squash, I can move on to planting the popcorn seedlings. And for this I'm using a hori hori, which is a sharper garden trowel. You can also use a normal garden trowel for this purpose. Popcorn plants want to be planted about 1 foot apart in each direction. My tool is about 1 foot long, so I'm using that to measure. I'm digging into the paper underneath the compost, making room for the transplants to go in so the roots can access the soil underneath without waiting for the paper to decompose. These seedlings came out of trays that were planted in blocks. You may end up with seedlings that are in individual cell packs. In some instances, you'll end up with more than one plant in a cell or a soil block, in which case you're going to want to select the biggest plant and pinch off any extra plants in the cell or soil block. Plants can be removed from their tray and set out next to the holes they're going to be planted in. Gently coax the roots to the bottom of the hole and pat the soil around the plants until it is nice and secure. About 1.5 inches from the corn seedling stalk, I am making a hole about 1 inch deep and dropping the bean seed into the hole and again patting the soil over it. You want to go over this bed at least 3 times with a watering can or the gentle spray of a hose to be sure the first 3 inches of soil gets fully saturated. When I'm watering, I go around the plants, focusing on the roots of the plants rather than soaking the plant itself. After plants are established and you're heading out for the summer, you can return every now and then to water.
Thank you for watching. We'll see you again in September when we're ready to plant our fall seedlings.